2019 4runner, we're changing the TPMS sensors in all four wheels. Not because they're bad, but because my son-in-law found these cool black wheels for this off-road edition. So this is not the Pro edition, but these are cool black wheels and they are TRD wheels. So they're off of 2021 though, and they are not compatible with the 2019 computer. So we're getting the sensors changed out. I've tried to program them and tried several different methods, and it's just not working. And then later find out that they're not compatible. Okay, so this is the programmer I'm using, the Autel programmer, and it's worked well in the past for me. It does lots of different cars if you're interested in it. The link will be in the description below. So, and I've broke a TPMS sensor on the old wheels before and changed it out with the MoreSensor TPMS sensor, and that's this brand right here. And this is the part number for this particular 2019 4runner, KX-S113. You don't need the SN. I'm not sure why that's on there. But anyway, these are the sensors for the 2019 and maybe one or two other years. I can't remember from their website. I've used those on my Dodge pickup. So if you've watched any of my videos on my channel where I've done this with my Dodge Ram, they were just plug and play. I literally just replaced the sensors and drove the truck, and it automatically sensed them and picked them up and registered them. So I didn't even need this for the Dodge pickup. Okay, but I've got 4 or 5 vehicles with sensors, and I'm just like, okay, it's time to buy the tool. Process for this basically is, you know, take out the old sensors, put in the new sensors, then program the sensors. What you do is, I'll show you this at the end of the video. You go around with the tool, with the programming tool, you register each sensor starting here, that one, that one, that one, and then the spare if you have a spare. We don't have one on a spare. Then you go in and plug it into the OBD2 port, and then you program the computer inside so it recognizes all the wheel sensors. There's lots of ways to do this. I've done this different ways as well that I'm doing it today. But if you watch my RAM video, it was kind of fun because we actually used the bottle jack out of the RAM pickup, just the standard factory jack, put the tire underneath, jack the jack, and broke the bead with that, and then I held the bead down, you know, with a block of wood. That's not my favorite way to do it. I'm trying a little different technique I'll show you now. And then would pull the sensor out, and I had to cut the old sensors out as well. We're having to cut these out because I just don't have another idea of how to get these out. I don't have a good way to get them out. Unless you guys have ideas, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. There's lots of different ways to do this. I'm doing it kind of the redneck way. So we're getting the sensors out, using this bead breaker for breaking the bead, and this is just the Harbor Freight one. But what I found was for these bigger tires, that wasn't long enough. I think the whole total length of it went down to here from the way they make it from the factory. So I welded this extension on here, because what was happening was when you go to, you'll see this in a minute, when you go to break the bead, the back end would flip up inside the tire or inside the rim, and so it wasn't working very well. So this actually extends past the other side of the tire and works a lot better. Also, I can't find my valve core remover. So, and I used to have them all over, but I've moved and a lot of stuff's in storage and I can't find anything, it seems like. So I'm using this ARB air down tool as my valve stem core remover. So I'm removing the core with this thing. I'm also using this to pull the new valve stem back into the rim and pop it in place. So it's very redneck actually, but that's just how I'm doing it, just to try to get the job done, because I don't want to go to town and buy more tools right now. Lots of ways to try to create room here. You know, I used to use a pry bar, put a piece, you know, stick a piece of wood in there, and that works. I was worried about wood getting down inside my tire, although it probably doesn't hurt anything. The other thing I try to be careful of is make sure the side of the tire is clean, because you don't want dirt getting down here. If dirt does fall inside your tire, a little sand or whatever, it's not going to hurt anything inside the tire. It's not like it's going to throw it out of balance, but you don't want that building up on the bead there and then causing a leak later. So before we reassemble it, I'll run a rag around the inside of the rim here and around the tire there just to make sure it's clean. Now, as far as keeping it separated, I'm just using these little Harbor Freight little airbag things, and these are just a few bucks at Harbor Freight, and other places sell them. I think I've seen them at Home Depot too. But what I'm going to try to do is smash it down inside there and push down on both sides here. Okay, and that's getting past the sensor now. Jam that in there. Got a second one here. We're going to jam it right over here. Air these up. This is probably a slow way to do this, but I'm just kind of having fun today. I got a little bit of time, just kind of experimenting with different things. This has worked well on 3 tires, so we'll air them up till they look pretty firm. And you can see they don't make a lot of working space initially, but that's because the other side of the bead on the other side of the rim is kind of getting in the way. So what I'm going to do is just push down on this other side over here, and that allows the bead to pop further inside the rim, which frees this side up. So now we have plenty of working space. These are the sensors that came out of the 2021 wheels, and they say Autel on them too. So I don't know, is Toyota buying these and putting them in their vehicle now? Because they do make a bunch of different sensors, but basically it has a little press button right there. So if you're just changing the sensor and you don't want to change your valve stem, just press that right there, and then it comes apart. So you could just change the sensor, plug it back into the new valve stem, click, make sure it stays, and you're done. You know, get the tire back together, get it programmed, and move on. Now, I'm changing the valve stems. This is, you know, it's off 2021 wheels, so they're only about 3 years old. They look kind of bad. They're not terrible, like they're years and years and the rubber's starting to break down, but I have the new ones. I'm just going to go and put the new ones in. Now, to get these out, I don't have a real good method for getting them out. I mean, separating this doesn't get your valve stem out. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting around the valve stem on the outside and just kind of shaving away at the rubber here until it's enough that I can pull it through to the inside of the wheel. I'll show you that in a second. There's probably better ways to do this, so let me know in the comments if you have a better idea. Okay, so just using a little razor knife, I'm just going to cut real carefully around the base and all the way down to the metal. Now, these are aluminum wheels. Just be careful. I'm trying to be careful that I don't cut into my aluminum. This isn't the primary sealing surface on the outside here, so I'm not super worried, but I also still don't want to cut into the metal if I can help it. Once I've got that done, all I'm doing is trying to chip away chunks of this with the dikes. We'll do that on 4 sides, and that should be enough to get it out. Out it comes. Now we just want to make sure that this is all clean around here, that there's no dirt, there's no buildup, there's nothing that's going to impede the new seal. We're going to clean the inside there, and we're going to clean the outside, and then just clean the hole as well, just to make sure it's nice and clean. And here I'm just using a little brake cleaner on a rag. Now here's how the new sensor comes. The sensors on my Dodge actually had threaded, so you just slide this through the wheel and then you thread it on kind of a nut sized end, and then you torqued it to so many inch-pounds. And it had 2 rubber seals on each side. They've never leaked. I've never lost any air, so they worked really well. These actually have pull-through rubber sensors, kind of like the ones we just cut out. So we'll just take that off. The directions are very clear. They're very easy to read. These are obviously imported, but the directions are very well written. Now again, you can see these little airbag things are holding the tire away, giving me plenty working room. I don't want to drop anything down there, so I'm going to have to be careful. I am going to use just a little bit of silicone paste, 3M silicone paste. I use this for a lot of different things. It works pretty well for, you know, not breaking rubber down. And so I'm just going to put a little bit around that, and that way when I slide it through, this will help pop it through more easily. Again, this is not what this tool is made for, so there's a chance I'm going to break it. It's worked so far for 3 tires. Hopefully it'll work for this one. I should buy the correct tool for pulling these, and it's not an expensive tool, but basically it just threads on here, gives you a little camming action. You can just pry it up and it pops right in. We're going to do kind of the same thing with a little bit of a pry bar though. Now, the other thing you want to make sure with these sensors is to make sure that the valve stems are truly seated. So, you know, put your little valve stem core tool on there and just, you know, give it a little pressure, make sure the valve stem core is seated. And I did find one in a different brand that wasn't seated, so, and my tire lost some air. Fortunately, I caught it right away before it went totally flat on me. Now, just trying to pull this through, I don't have enough leverage and strength to even working it around like this. They're just not popping through, so I'm just going to use this little bit of a bar right here and squeeze it up into place here. Okay, let me just show you real quick. When everything's black, it just soaks up all the light. But this is the part that we're trying to get right up against the wheel. You can see that gap right there where my screwdriver's going in. That's the gap we're trying to close. So once this is seated right here, this outer rubber up against the wheel, then we know it's seated and we can go ahead and put air in it. Okay, so that's seated nicely now. Okay, you can also get up here and just kind of rock the stem back and forth, and you can see that top edge of the stem sticking out on the top. So we know that's good and solid. We'll just power this on, and we're going to go to advanced mode. You've got to use the arrows, it's not a touch screen. And then yes or no is kind of your confirmation. Your device has not been updated. Well, I bought it and I updated it, but it's been a couple years. So now we're going to check our make, Toyota, yes, and 4runner. So I've already programmed this recently, so it's kind of saved my settings. It knows it's a 2017 through 12 of 2019, okay. We're gonna scroll down to position relearn, hit yes, and OBD relearn, yes. Now, it gives you some instructions here. It just says make sure your tires are aired up basically. Starting with the left front tire, use the TPMS tool to trigger each sensor in the following order. Left front, right rear, left rear. And then full size spare if equipped. Okay, so let's get started. Now this is what it's asking for, left front sensor. It's pretty straightforward. We're just going to go through and it says press the kind of Wi-Fi button, which is right there when you get it near the sensor. So we're just going to bring it here to the sensor and put it right there. Hit the Wi-Fi button. Okay, and it recognizes it and even tells you what the pressure is. 33.6 is what the sensor's saying. I have two gauges that said that I set all these tires to 35. So here's the right front. We'll do the same thing. And that says 33.4. We're going to go to the right rear. And that one says 33.4 also. And now the left rear. 33.4. Now those are done. Now it brings up this menu automatically. Confirm whether the vehicle has a spare tire with the TPMS sensor. If no, please connect and turn the ignition on. If yes, press cancel to go back to activate the spare tire sensor. So we're not going to press OK yet until we get it connected. Okay, we connected the OBD2 connector down there. This is kind of a serial connector if you remember those from old computer days, and it just plugs into the bottom of the unit right here. It says turn the key on. So 2 clicks, then press the OK button. Okay, just kind of keep an eye on the lights over there. I'm going to hit OK, which is the yes button. That's right underneath the OK button. And it says communicating with the vehicle, please wait. And now the lights get all crazy down there. It gives you a little countdown, 20 something seconds left. Oh, I didn't show you the TPMS low tire light was on, and it's been on for ever since we put these wheels on, which has been a few months, probably 6 months ago. Writing sensor ID to ECU. So now it's telling the computer that these are the sensors to look for. Okay, it says write ID successful. Please proceed with the following steps until the OBD relearn is successful. So the write successful, we just got to finish a couple things here. Now it's reading for diagnostic trouble codes. OBD relearn successful. Okay. Now we'll go drive it for about 5 minutes, then we'll shut it off and then we'll restart it, and hopefully that light will be gone. Let's go find out. The directions are all over the place depending on what you read, but I followed the instructions that were actually in the sensor itself, specific for this model. So I drove it for about 5 minutes, under 65, it was over 35, and then shut it off, and then we came back on the interstate, drove around a while on the interstate for about 15 minutes total. Hasn't come back on. Problem solved. Sweet.